Okay, so short overview. The Victorinox so-called Handyman Swiss Army knife. Take a quick look at the tools just to show you what it looks like and the type of holster that I use for it, which I will say is it's a very cheap ultra fire, made for those Chinese flashlights that you can get on eBay and whatnot. I forget the exact specs of it, but I will try and find it and include it in the description if any of you are interested. However, I found this to be just a perfect fit for this type of knife, and probably other similar ones. Is considered a 91mm Victorinox knife with 6 layers. So you have 6 layers of tools, and the size is 91mm. So a very nice holster. You don't have to go spend 10, 20, 30 bucks on a fancy holster when you can repurpose something like this, which was I'd say under 4 or 5 bucks. So that's the holster. Tools, small knife, large knife, metal file, which can be used to file your fingernails, cuticles, that sort of thing, wood and other metals. Very sharp, very well made. Takes off a lot of material quick, and I use this thing all the time for my fingernails, and you can push cuticles and trim them with this as well. Very nice file. Wood saw, not very useful for some people, but you'd be surprised how sharp this is and how fast you can trim a piece of wood with this. Scissors, very sharp, very high quality. The tolerances on all these tools are so tight and so well made that it makes them just that more pleasant to use than other cheap Swiss Army style knives. These get used quite often and they stay sharp for a long time. The blades hold an edge very well. The primary reason why I got this is because of the little pliers. This is something I also use quite often. They're not full-size pliers like on a Leatherman or whatever. But again, the reason I got this knife is to have something more lightweight to carry. So you have a kind of wire stripper thing here. You could use this as a crimper. And again, the tolerances on these are very tight. You can see you can pull hairs with this knife, or with the pliers. Can opener, which is the sharp edge. Not something I don't think I've ever used or ever will use. Flathead screwdriver with bottle opener can come in handy on occasion. Not entirely sure what this is for, but I'm sure it has a purpose. And it has a detent in this position, so you can kind of use it as a screwdriver. I much prefer having the screwdrivers open in this orientation than, for example, this thing where you got to use it like this. It just restricts the type of spaces you can get it into by that much more. So the selection of tools on this side of the knife, in my opinion, is not the greatest, given the design of the knife, which is the Handyman, which is a knife designed for a working knife, fixing things around the house and outside and that kind of thing. So the hook, totally useless, basically just there for tradition. I'm sure all of you know the age-old carrying your twine wrapped parcels, which nobody even does anymore because of jam postal machines. So useless. Bottle or cork screw, useless. Never use that, never will. You're more likely to just go into the kitchen and grab the mechanical one. In my opinion, these are things that should be only included in camping or outdoorsy type of knives, where it's the type of thing you'd stick in your picnic bag, whereas this is meant to be carried on the belt for doing work things. Little chisel, don't think I've ever used this for anything other than cuticles and nails. Less useless. Would have much liked to prefer to have a Phillips screwdriver or an assortment of Phillips screwdrivers as opposed to the useless hook and the slightly less useless corkscrew. Also pretty useless, the punch or the awl or whatever you want to call this thing. It's pretty much meant for piercing tarp or leather. to do stitching on heavy material, like if you were, I don't know, camping or out in the woods and your leather jacket ripped or your tarp ripped, you can kind of do some crude patchwork with this. Again, not really something that should be included on a work style knife, but nevertheless they are there. I did change the scales on these because I got the set which included the pen. Reason for that being is you would not believe the amount of times that I've needed a pen and not had one. Nobody carries pens in their pockets. It's just not a normal thing to do. They're annoying, cumbersome, they leak, they poke your pockets. Just nobody carries pens, but when you need one, it's a pain in the ass to not have one. However, most of the time this is on my belt, so having the pen there is just that much more better. Also, if any of you go out geocaching and you forget the damn pen in the car or in your bag or whatever and you can't sign the log, very annoying. So the pen is a huge plus for me, which is why I got the scales which have the pen. Toothpick, if you enjoy sticking things in your mouth that have been in contact with the outside world more than about anything, never really use this or will use it. Also, another little hidden feature is this pin. This is more useful than you would think from things like unclogging, spray paint nozzles, or maybe the little valves on your windshield wiper things. Sometimes those can get sticky or clogged up if you use that horrid freaking Rain-X, that goopy shit. It tends to catch dirt and you gotta unclog your windshield wiper valve. Ejecting SIM things on iPhones, that kind of thing. Anyways, I've used this many times, so that's quite nice to have. That's about it. So if you're thinking of getting this knife, hopefully now maybe you can decide if it's for you or not. In my opinion, very nice and very useful for the purposes I use it for.